Yeah. So thank you so much for investing next 90 minutes with us. So those who are coming for the first time, I just wanted to share a little bit about me and the organization I'm representing. My name is Virendra Singh Rathore. I'm co-founder for Challenging Horizons, and also we are a heart of managing partner. So look after all the interventions when it comes to driving an intervention for various organizations. I get into the initial conversations and also look after the entire business as whole. So we started, you might be seeing something on screen called Skill India Movement. So let me share why we started the Skill India Movement and what was the intent behind starting the Skill India Movement. Now, I don't have to tell about what uncertainty and crisis mean to us. We have been part of this crisis and uncertainty from past almost 6 7 months, and now it is becoming a way of life. But in this process, what we realize is there are few skills which a person definitely need to adapt, learn, and apply to not only come out of these challenging times, but also become a better human being and apply these things which can help him to grow in his career and his professional life. So with that intention, we started Skill India Movement, and in Skill India Movement, we identified 9 core topics. Most of the sessions we have already delivered, and today's session is purely focusing on the HR fraternity. We work very closely with HR, and we can understand that in the amount of effort it requires to drive things. And I call us as a part of one unit. And that's a fact of life. And I'm sure Vineet will also reflect in his slide that when it comes to driving things of, uh, uh, at an organization level, we have a highly influential role to play. But unfortunately, to drive and implement things, there are many entities involved to execute and make things happen. The participant in itself, the business in itself, and our role is towards initiating any intervention. But to get the desired result, we also need a collaboration and a partnership with all the stakeholders. Now, with that intention, we thought, why not we create a session, and how HR can directly contribute to the business success is the theme which we have picked up, and Vineet will share in his slide what does he mean exactly with this theme. So, with that, these are the 9 special team members of faculties we have identified from our team. All of these team members come with a rich domain expertise, and today you'll witness with Vineet. Uh, Also, with the domain expertise, they also come with rich business background. Now, this makes more relevance to the session when we are delivering the session. So we don't only talk about the theoretical concept, but also bring a lot of practical insights while delivering these sessions, so that it becomes more practicable. The sessions become realistic, and in application point of view also, we share various tools which these individuals have been using in their professional career and got tremendous success while delivering sessions or whether driving things at their business unit. So this is the overall about the Skill India movement. And about Challenging Horizons, I in every conversation I reflect to this slide, and this means a lot to us. At an organization, we believe that each individual, he comes with some amount of a potential, and if that potential is given a correct direction, if that potential is given correct feed, there is no amount of an uncertainty a person cannot manage. So that's the purpose we all of us at Challenging Horizons, day in and out, we believe in. And as an organization, what we do, these are the 3 areas where we work closely with organization. The first part is capability building, where we assist organization to develop capabilities at leadership level, at manager level, and individual level. Also, we work with business owners to set up a transformation journey in their business, how they can take their business to the next level. We have a specific interventions for business owners. Second, we partner with learning and development department of an organization to drive various learning and development projects. We do OD consulting. We also drive business consulting, which are linked uh, to with a learning objective. to achieve a specific business goal. And third, most important, we are the very, very few rare organization which comes with a behavioral skills and a background has own LMS. So we are very proud to share that we've been working with on a technology platform from past 2 years, and this technology platform is live. We are supporting a lot of organizations to manage their entire learning through our learning management system, which is called Carry On. We have also created a Challenging Horizon Digital Learning Academy where we host various online self-learning micro programs. So these are the three areas where we partner with organization. As an organization, it's almost more than 15 years. We've been working with various organizations in 19 different sectors, supporting them with various interventions. The real strength is our team member, our team of consultants who come with a very rich business background and also very strong conceptual knowledge. And today you will witness with Vineet in his session. So that's our strength. And over a period of time, we've been very fortunate to work with more than 200 plus organizations. These are the few names which you might be familiar with. I'm sure few might be representing these organizations. The best part is we also have learned a lot of things from these organizations while executing various interventions. So whatever we deliver in our session comes with a rich experience of working with these organizations, delivering sessions, understanding their challenges, helping them to reach to the next level of achieving their business goal. So that as an organization, what we do, and not taking too much time, let me introduce to our today's speaker, Vineet. And the best part is Vineet is a business guy. I always talk to Vineet, and Vineet say, you wear a HR hat secondly, and the first you wear a business hat, because all throughout his career, he has been involved in developing the entire HR function from scratch. So he doesn't even look HR as only as a department, but overall how HR can contribute to the overall success of an organization. With 25 years, he has been a CHRO for various organizations. Few of the large organizations he was involved from initial development. Maybe few of the organizations he was the first person to be in the founding team, and from there he took the organization to a next level. Few of the names where Vineet has worked is Tata Sky, where he was a part of initial team and set up the entire HR structure from scratch. So all over to you, Vineet, and let me welcome Vineet. Vineet, if you are able to log in, and I'll just stop sharing my screen so that you get the rights to share the screen. And just a second.
Thank you, Viren. You have to allow the video to start from my side.
Sure. Yeah, Vineet, all yours.
Thanks, Viren. Thanks for giving such a generous introduction of mine.
Vineet, your video is still not on.
Is it still not on?
Yeah. Yeah.
Is it better?
Yes, now we can.
The screen is also visible, the PPT one?
Yes, it is.
Okay. Let me...
So, are you guys able to hear my voice and Vineet's voice? Because I see some response in the chat box that you're not able to hear our voice. So, okay. So, I recommend Vaishali just to check your internet connection, because at your end, okay. Vineet's voice is a little bit. So, Vineet.
Okay, now is it better?
Yeah, I can hear perfectly well. Okay. Yeah. Go ahead, Vineet.
Great. So I was saying, Viren, thanks for giving such a generous introduction. And it's my honor to be part of the team right now, those who belong to the same fraternity. And I always wanted to speak more about myself. So I'll take another 2 minutes in addition to what Viren explained about me. And just to build a context to it. So I am in HR from last 25 years, and in this
Need
25
just a request, if little bit louder if you can, or maybe you can use headphone or microphone. I think the voice.
Now better?
Yeah, it's better,
Okay.
much better.
So I'm saying I've been into HR from last 25 years, worked in 5 companies so far, yet not repeated any industry. And out of the 5 companies, 4 were the startups and early growth companies. That's how my passion to see HR from the business side is always there. And because when you start something from the scratch, obviously you have to understand the business, then only you implement HR. So all the 5 companies, different industries. So it also gave me a flavor to look business from a different perspective, also from different nature also. So when we decided that we'll do some program for HR, Viren very rightly said that I think in the last 6 months, all of us are attending the programs or arranging a program, and HR is playing a very key role in that. So why not have something for HR as well, where we can understand where HR stands today in the market and how the HR should be able to take it to the next level. So agenda-wise, what we will do is we'll try to make it more interactive and try to make it as exciting and closer to our field. But at the same time, let's look HR from a different lens also together. So it will be divided into 2 parts. One is we will speak about leadership and what we mean by leadership in HR and how HR has to migrate from what the currently we are doing into the next stage of HR, which should be the future of HR. In between, we'll use some polls and we will also use some learning tools so that we will see that where we are heading as a academically also in HR and how business is going to get help from us in HR. So let me move to the first one. I wanted to start by leadership because HR and leadership are two sides of the same coin. And when we say that HR has to progress, it comes from a leadership. Now, interestingly, when you look at the definitions of leadership on the screen right now, on one side, you know the names like Peter Drucker and Bill Gates, which are the known authorities in their own space. You might have heard about Warren Bennis or John Maxwell, those who are authority in leadership and executive coaching. So what is common in this, what they are saying? So if you look at the definition which Peter is giving or John Maxwell is giving, both are talking about, so Peter is talking about that leadership is all about followership, and John Maxwell is saying that leadership is about influencing. So though they are saying at 2 different points, but the fact remains is that you have to create impact in the leadership space if you really wanted the people to listen to you and do as per the vision you have in mind. Similarly, when we talk about Bill Gates and with Warren also, he also talks about how leader we can convert the things into action and the vision that can bring results to the organization. So this is one part of it, that what is leadership. But before that, if you look at it, I thought we will do something to do a check on what kind of an audience we have. So maybe we'll just run a poll to know the audience a little better. And Viren, if you can run the poll.
Yes.
See, when we are into a virtual kind of this, I think the best poll comes so handy to us. So it's better to know from where all of us are coming. I'm assuming most of us are from HR right now. And
so just answer first question only. Okay, there is some error around, I think, with the poll. So.
Mhm.
So I think 50% are from healthcare.
Oh, wonderful.
You know, there is some error in the poll. So Vineet, you can continue. Maybe use chat. I think.
Okay.
Yeah, I think chat would be better option.
1 minute. I
Yeah.
think.
Vineet?
Yeah. Can you see my screen right now?
No, no.
I think just give me a second. Now is it visible?
Yes, yes.
Okay. So anyway, so we will just know more about
We can't see you. That's yeah, it's better now.
Okay. So when we say about leadership, leadership, we have to see it from the business context first before we see it at an individual level. So what we mean by leadership in business, and this is one of my favorite slides. I was doing some research. I said, when we say business leadership should be there, what are the measures of looking at a leadership in business? Of course, there are many parameters to it, but if the organizations are listed, how the market is giving them the thumbs up and how people are able to have the faith in the organization, share market is one of such measure we can use to find the leadership of an organization. So the screen which we're seeing right now, it speaks about media and entertainment as an industry. And on one side, you will see all the listed media entertainment companies in India. If you go to any Nifty or a Bombay Stock Exchange website, and you look at all the companies which are listed there under media entertainment, be it Viacom, Z, or Sony, or whatever it is, the total market cap of those companies is not even 1/20th of the Netflix. So today Netflix as a world leader has a market cap of $200 billion, whereas the overall market cap of all media entertainment companies put together in India is maybe around $10 billion, 10 or $11 billion. So what does it say? And Netflix, as you know, is not a very old company. Maybe around 20 years ago, they started with rental of sending it the videotapes to your house to watch the movies. Very early in their business cycle, they realized that this business is not going to scale up because of the digital things which are happening. And they decided to stop that business and get into a digital space for it. Today, I think Netflix is a homegrown name, everybody knows about it. But what are lessons for us in leadership when we talk about Netflix or when we talk about any other companies? So the first lesson I think which comes is about how and why they have created an organization which revolves around the practices and practices of the people, practices of the processes, and practices of taking the organization to the next level. Interestingly, second example, if we look at it, again, new age business versus old age businesses. Tesla, of course, in India, it's not a big name as of now. Of course, one day it will make it here also. But if you look at Tesla, and it's a very recent study which has been done in the market somewhere in September only, Tesla has a market cap of $100 billion, which speaks about the organization, which is just an electronic driven car company. And in the bottom end, you will see a General Motors, which is currently only around $40 billion organization. Now, all of us know General Motor is one of the oldest organizations which we have seen in the world. They have seen many ups and downs. They have got many new products to the market. And most of us have seen General Motor as not only as an organization, but also as an institution because of the practices and because of the kind of business growth they have seen. But today, if you look at it, in the same market, everything remains same. It is just 1/10 of what Tesla is there, which is a new kid in the block. Something which was started again 15, 20 years ago by Elon Musk. Nobody believed in it. Nobody believed in his leadership that something as electrical can become so important in terms of car that people are going to migrate it from a fossil fuel to an electronics car. Not only that, if you look at it, Tesla today employs 1/3 of the total manpower which is there in the General Motors. So again, now the reason why I'm spending time in explaining it to you about the leadership in business is that as HR, we have to understand that any business which we are there, it is about people. And even before the people we are talking, it is about the leadership which brings that people. Everybody wants to be with the winning organization. So the role of HR becomes more daunting in that because everybody wants to join the organization and see that they are able to grow with the organization and see a new technology coming into us. Now, everyone knows that leadership is there, but why it matters so much? And beautiful article which I read recently, it says that leadership matters because people matter. So it's such a profound statement which has been made, which says that we talk about leadership because we have to talk about people. And if leadership matters, people matter. So you cannot separate people from a leadership. Good leaders always make sure that the people practices are good. Bad leaders, unfortunately, not only take organization to the lowest level, but also make sure that the people, those who are associated with it, also leaves the shop and then they also suffer in their career. There is a study which is done by one of the leading media publishing house, Inc.com, and they did a very extensive study of leaders. Almost 30,000 leaders they interacted and tried to analyze what kind of a traits they bring into it. Interestingly, they found that there is 10% of the leaders generate twice the net income of the other 80% of the population. So see the vast gap which we have today. Only 10% of the leaders out of the 30,000 leaders they survey, they are commanding the 80% of the position. These are the leaders, those who make organizations like Tesla, Netflix, Tata's, or very other companies which are coming, whether it is Infosys or whether the companies which are coming into the healthcare sector. Everything starts with the leadership. Interestingly, the other part of the study also says that the top 10th percentile of leaders from the rest have the ability to inspire and motivate others for high performance. Now, if we had to pick one thing which differentiates a leader from another leader, it's about inspiration and motivation. If we go back to our previous slide where we started with the definition of leadership, again, the same thing was there. It was about influencing, it was about followership. So I think we as a leader, it's our responsibility to make sure that we are continuously inspiring and motivating the people we are there. As HR, this responsibility is further increased because the expectation of yours from you, from your management or from your employees all the time is that you have to motivate. Now, I know at times it becomes very difficult to motivate when you yourself is not very sure about how the things are moving. But I think if we have decided to get into HR, this trait, which we obviously brings it to the table, that makes it easy for us to make sure that people get motivated. Corona times is one classic example when we have seen that when everything was going bad, everything was uncertain, Nobody was knowing whether the offices will open, will not open. I think HR leadership, HR people plays a very, very important role right now. Now, the way they have integrated everything in the organization, made work from home, engagement tools which were launched, even doing the training during this period is commendable. I think hats off to all HR people, the way we are doing it today. And this is one such sign which gives us an opportunity to show that we are going to do in motivating whichever is the situation we encounter in life. Now, Kiran, can we run a poll?
Yes, we can. Yes, I think, yeah. You can respond to these questions.
Okay, I can, yeah. This will be an interesting one.
So the question is, which one has started his or her career in HR? Correct.
So we have seen few responses coming.
Yeah.
Any is leading.
Best.
Bernard. Okay. Interesting. So we are neck to neck for Lisa and Bernard right now.
So let's look at the result. And share the result.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. So according to the poll, Mary from General Motors is started her career from HR. What is the second next?
Second is
Lisa. So you will be surprised to know all the 5 personalities which we have mentioned here, they all started their career in HR. In fact, all of them were CHROs. And because of their impeccable track record of knowing the business, they have been given the responsibility of being the CEO of the company. And these are not the small companies. If you look at the companies, Xerox, MetLife, Arriva, General Motors, all are billion-dollar company. They have multi-countries operations. They have a very strong brand equity into this. So you can understand that they were competing against the best. There were a lot of people, those who were equally talented like them, and still in the organization, they could make it up to the topmost position, which is the CEO's position. I am surprised some of them even have said that none of the above, which means that none of these people were there from HR. Another thing which is there, CHRO is today in the top 3 highest paid professions in the world. So after CEOs and chief operating officers, CHROs are getting highly paid. Some people on the lighter side always say that since CHRO commands over C&B function, he or she has the ability to influence the board to get paid more, if not more than CEOs and CEOs, at least at the 3rd level. But that's not the reality. The reality is that the organization sees contribution of HR. Organization sees that their future is dependent on HR. And there are enough of examples where you have seen that because of people leadership, organizations are able to beat the organization, the competition multiple times. So this is the success story of HR leaders. So I think we all are in a good space. All of you should feel very, very comfortable, confident, and we will be happy to see the 6th and 7th and 8th name coming in this list from the participants of today's program. So aspire for that, inspire other, get aspired, and I'm sure your name will also be part of this in the times to come. Okay, now this was a good part of it. HR has a lot of things related to it also, which are not, we will say, where we always criticize HR, sometimes we praise HR, but there are some facts about HR also. So what is the state of HR leadership today? A lot of studies have been done, but I personally like this study, which was done a few years ago by Harvard Business Review. And they did this study where they tried to score the whole organization, different functions in the organization, basis about the effectiveness of leadership in each of the functions. So of course, on the top, you can see the highly effective function in the organization was sales, followed by customer service, surprisingly third by legal. And then of course, if you look at it, HR was somewhere in the middle. So not very happy state because everyone expected, especially after seeing the previous slide, that HR will be very, very highly effective into leadership. But this slide speaks little grim part of it. HR effectiveness is not that great when we look at a worldwide level, when we look at a broader scale. And some of the slides which we are going to cover right now, you will see that why is it so, and who is responsible for us, and what is our collective responsibility of all of us to make sure that we score on this leadership effectiveness. On the right-hand side of the screen, you will see a competency gaps, which is there in the HR. So if you compare between the top quartile HR leaders and the other HR leaders, and when we say top quartile HR leaders, there are many leaders which are known in the world for their best practices, bringing out the effectiveness into this. But then if you just try to plot all the leaders of HR, those who were surveyed, you will see a stark difference in their personality and approach. On one side, those who are on the top quartile, they are able to have established stretch goals for themselves and for their organization and for their team. Whereas those who are just normal HR leaders, very contented, very satisfied with the things they are doing it, they are just keeping the goal as required it is. They are not stretching it, they are just surviving it. Incidentally, you will look at somewhere very close to 40th percentile, which is very close to what we see in the leadership effectiveness of HR. In fact, there is a straight line coming if you look at between all the four parameters. HR normal leaders are standing in between 40th percentile for everything. Second important parameter was solving problems and analyzing the issues. Effective leaders spend time and energy in solving the problems and solving the business problems. They also help in developing strategic perspective for their organizations. At the same time, they are able to connect to the outside world. I'll be taking you to one of the slides related to outside world, which I think is a very, very key feature for today for any HR leaders to be effective in the organization. So this is one side of the story when we talk about it. And I'm sure this is not a surprise slide for you, because what we talk about in any of our conversation, any of our meeting, any of our training program, I think all of us in HR have one common grouse, or multiple grouse, I'll say. Business is not listening to us. We do not get great set on the table, and we are considered as a cost center only. Now, I want you to just put that, we'll not run a poll, but you can put it on a chat. How many of you agree with all the three statements? How many of you agree with none? Or how many of you agree with one? Let's look at it. So we say, we agree. You can see some agreeing. Come on, everyone, reply. I think this is one of the favorite discussion HR we do whenever we meet as a team. That business is not listening to us.
We can run a poll for this.
Okay, if you can run a poll, that would be great.
Yeah.
The first response came, which says all of the above. Great. Can we see the results, or people are still participating?
Yes, I think. So I'll just showcase the poll. Yeah.
Okay.
So highest is business is not listening to us.
Listening to us. That is the common thing which always comes, that business is not listening to us. Followed by all of the above. So guys, if you look at it, it is 70% of us feel that either in our organization, all the three things which we are facing, or if not all the three, at least first one is a very, very common thing which is there, that business is not listening to us. My question is why? We have answered this question that it is not listening, but have we introspected ever that why is it so happening? Why business is not listening to us? Some people say we have tried, things doesn't work, business always take a different view, we are not informed on time. I'm not going to contest on that, I'm not going to argue on that. But my question is, somewhere answer lies in these questions itself. Why is business not listening to us? Why we are not getting the required kind of a recognition in our organization? Why sometimes we are just being treated like as if we are doing some customary exercise, like of increments or events or hiring or firing for that matter? I think there is a deeper reason for it. And the deeper reasons come more from our inability to understand the requirement of the business. I promise you, I'll be talking more about HR from the business side, and I'll continue to do that. There is a reason for it when we say that business has seen things are coming to them, but it is coming at a very, very minimal requirement from their side. So we have to look at from our side what we are doing today. Is there anything which we could have done differently? Are we going more deeper than what we are doing it today? Answer is, in most of the case, perhaps no. We could have done a better job. We can still do a better job. We can always, from tomorrow onwards, we can always look at it at what my business is. For contributing to the business, first we need to understand the business. Whenever business plans comes to us, I have seen many colleagues of mine in HR, including in different organizations, they just went to the page which is related to HR. They will never look it into the first few pages which is talking about finance. They will not look into the sales number. They will not look at a business expansion numbers. All they wanted to see it, mere liye kya hai uske andar? How many people I have to hire? What is my budget for the increment this time? How much training requirement is coming from the business plan? These are just few things which are coming. We have to look at a very large picture, which is necessary for the success of the organization. Okay, this is one slide where we are going to spend most of our time now, because this is one of the important things which we need to understand, which will answer questions which we have just raised about ourselves. If we say that the business is not listening to us, if we say that the leadership effectiveness in the service conducted by HBR is not very effective for HR, and if we say that we are not getting the seat on the table, what we can do? Can we continue to remain spending our time and energy cribbing about it all the time? Or decide to leave and change our profession? Or accept this as our fate and say that, okay, nothing much can be done. I think that's the way the businesses will have a view about HR. My answer to this is no, we cannot do that. We have to move the needle ourselves. We have to shift gear now. How we will do it? There are 5 buckets which I have created, and I'm sure it will be very helpful for you people also. And we will take each bucket one by one, and we will ask your opinion also on the chat right now. I think fundamentally, if we focus on these 5 buckets, and even if we pick one item each from each bucket, there is a huge shift which we can do in our HR contribution to the organization. And definitely to yourself as a person, where you will be seen as an HR leader in the times to come. First thing is, move away from the mentality of being a silent executor to a vocal creator. What do I mean by silent executor? Silent executor means the people are going to, we do what we are told to do. Hire the people, we hire the people. Process the payroll, we process the payroll. God forbid if company say fire the people, we just do the firing. Company says do the increments, we do the increments. Company say have a 10 training mandates for each person, we do tick in the box. That's not the way we are designed to be contributing. We are designed to be a vocal creator. So shift your gear, move from an executor to a creator. Jointly work with different functions, jointly work with the leaders. Come out, voice your concerns, voice your opinions, do something creative, and show something which is coming as a part of the business. Output to outcome driven. Again, you might have heard this terminology many times. Time has changed when business or any performance in the organization will be seen from an outcome point of view. We did work, we contributed, we spent sleepless nights, we spent and travel around the country to hire the people. But what is the outcome? Organizations are more important in seeing our outcome. So it applies to you, it applies to your team. Let's move it to a level of coming out with an outcome-driven approach. Let me give you a small example from my professional life. Some time back when I was working for Tata Sky, we were having around 1,000 technical people, those who were doing the installations. And we as HR decided, sitting in the AC rooms, the uniform of these employees. And we said, oh, they should be given uniform which should match with the brand and the logo and the color. And we designed we finalized the uniform for these guys. Within 1 month, we have started getting the complaints that from the customer that employees who are coming from your side are not properly dressed. And it was a surprise for us. We were very shocked that we gave them one of the best smart looking t-shirts and the things which are required in terms of a brand. Why are the people not wearing? Then we summoned the managers summoned these people, show causes were issued, all that kind of things, but we were not able to see any benefits of complaints getting reduced. Then we decided that we have to look at something more deeper. So we created a team within HR. We went along, so we called it as an FGD, and we called this group of engineers, those who were doing the installation. And these engineers were complaining that we asked them, why were you not wearing the uniform when you go to the customer side? And their response is, we cannot because it is so sweaty, it is so hot, we cannot do that. And first we thought it's an excuse. But then we decided to make a team. As HR, we went with these people. When we climbed with them on the ladder at a 45-degree, we realized that we have given them full sleeves t-shirt with a full trousers, which was made of a fabric which neither me nor anybody can survive in that 45 degrees and operate. So what it speaks about us? It speaks about that we were coming from a mentality of an outcome. हमारा काम है यूनिफॉर्म देना, हमने यूनिफॉर्म को अप्रूव करके दे दिया. That was an output we want. What was the outcome? Is it effective? Is it bringing results? Is it serving the purpose for which it gets created? The answer was no. And I'm sure these are going to be many such examples which are available in your life, in your professional world, where you could have seen that we were given only output, but outcome is not coming. And we always complain about it that we gave 100%, but people are not appreciating our output. So my dear friends, I think we should change one of right now is from being integrator to aggregator. Now, being integrator is not a bad thing. I think we are considered for our role in the organization as integrator because we bring people together. We are trying to solve their problems. We are going to make marketing speak with sales and sales speak with finance and so on and so forth. And we give our best of the opinions. But now the time has come that we have to move from the level of being integrator to aggregator. this is a promotion we have to give ourselves. What do you mean by aggregator? See, today, anyway, the organizations are not operating only from the workforce which are available inside the premises. You have to take the services of a lot of freelancers, a lot of organizations which are bringing a value-add services. And in times to come, the role of HR will be to aggregate everything together. We will not be required to have all the expertise in-house. Our success depends upon how, as HR, we are able to sense what business needs, from where we can source it, and how we can aggregate it together. Fourth is conscious keeper to conscious driver. You might have heard about this statement many times. Oh, you are the watchdog of a company, or you are the person who are gatekeepers of the organization. So all your policies which you design are considered as a gatekeeper policies, that you make people realize that there are values in the organization. You make ensure people follow the policies. So in a way, you are a watchdog or you are a gatekeeper. Nothing wrong in that. Absolutely okay, since we are promoting those values and consciousness among the employees. But again, this part of it is not going to take HR leadership to the next level. If we wanted to migrate from where we today, we have to become a driver for it. How we will become driver? We should be seen as a role model of picking up one value and displaying it in and out, displaying it from start to an end. It can be any value, it can be any ethics, it can be any activity which we do. If we say that we have to make sure that we will be non-biased to the people, our HR practices should reflect that our non-biasness is there in our policies. If we say that we wanted to make sure that employees are given a proper work-life balance, we have to make sure that how within our team, we make sure that the people, those who are working with us, feels that there is a work-life balance for them. And there can be many such examples. Then cost center to profit center, I think I can see a lot of shift already happened in this. Honestly, most of HR people have started now thinking like a profit center head. There is still a lot to be done, but I'm very happy that at least people in HR have started realizing that we have to look at from the revenue side also. Is it good enough? I'll say a good start, but it's very, very far away from a finishing line right now. So not only for us, I think this we have to inculcate as a feeling in our young HR people also, that they should look at everything from a profit-centric mindset for the organization. It doesn't mean that you stop spending money on your training programs, you don't do engagement activities for them because it's a cost. I think that's a misconception which we have. And I have seen it that HR normally falls into that trap. Somebody tells them, oh, you should be a profit center and not cost center. The next day you will see HR is slashing the budget of the engagement, they are stopping the picnic, they are putting something kind of restrictions into the pantries and the cafeterias. No. Is to look beyond that. Beyond that, there is a revenue which is waiting for you. You can do the contribution in revenue. You can do a more on the productivity side rather than cutting the salary. You can do more in terms of bringing the talent which are going to be servicing you from the different parts of the world at 1/10 of the cost rather than hiring it at your premises. That is the way we should do it. So can we do a small exercise in this? Pick up any one activity out of these 5 traits which we have said. It can be outcome, it can be vocal creator. Just put it on the chat. What do you think you will do next when you go back to your workplace in terms of displaying this kind of a skill set? Be short, be concise, just pick one and say that if tomorrow you are at your workplace, how will you demonstrate that will take your leadership to a next level? It can be something to do with a vocal creator, it can be something to do with aggregator, or even profit center mindset. We'll give 2 minutes for this and wanted to see the response of HR on this. Yeah, Rupesh, you mentioned profit center mindset, but what will you do to be a profit center mindset? That's my question. Tell me how you will be seen by people as a profit center mindset. It can be smallest of a thing. Divya is writing, roll out a gamification drive to show value add. Interesting. It will be purely outcome driven. I appreciate Divya on this because if you are creating something as an app or a gamification tool, it should be all outcome driven. So Rupesh is saying that we will be implementing effective training programs to enhance the productivity which causes profit. Rupesh, nice attempt. I know it is a little difficult to think right now. Uh, I recommend you, once you go back, do it more crisping in this. Pick one particular thing which you think you can tag it to the profit of the organization. It can be on the absenteeism, it can be on the shop floor, it can be on some material reduction, waste reduction, something like that. And then go for that training program, which will be more outcome driven. We'll give another 30 seconds if somebody wants to share, if they have planned something which they can do it at their workplace. Okay, Divya has suggested as a vocal creators, anchor as organization brand ambassadors, brand every initiative, maybe organization value too. Example, innovation day, POC contest. Okay, nice. See, one of the things which I particularly wanted to share it with you people from my experience is that many times in HR, we become overwhelmed with our responsibility. We think the whole organization has to be changed by us. So if we are working for a 500 employee company, or we are working for a 5,000 employee company, or if we are working for a 50,000 employee company, we feel the responsibility is on our shoulder. And we have to do anything and everything, then only people will notice us or they will appreciate our contribution. I think that's the biggest issue which we face because we wanted to serve all, we wanted to do mega things, and in that we normally fail. Take a baby steps. Pick one particular skill set which you think you can champion yourself into and do something and see the outcome of it. If you see success, do it as a pilot. If you are able to find some traction in that, then move it to the next level. So giving the example of whether we should do innovation day or we should do POC contest or anything for that matter, my recommendation is pick one, do it. Do it for a week. See if it is bringing the value or not. Then take it to a larger level. You are not required to do everything in one go. And that is where the problem HR faces. Because either we take a two extreme sides of it. Either we just sit into our office and feel that whatever we are doing is the best, or we go all over the place, try to understand. In reality, we don't understand, and then are not able to contribute to any part of the business. So be a little careful when you do all these things. Pick small, take a baby step, and then move forward. Of course, when we talk about how business will listen to us, there are a lot of things which we have we are doing it, we spoke about it. Now, one of the way we can do is HR also has to see how the transition has happened over the years. In 60s and 70s, we were respected for bringing functional impact. So organization will always look at it that you were supposed to hire 10 people at less cost on right time, whether you have done that or not. People will give you a clap on that. Then came the stage when digital, before the digital, but the IT started coming. Organization has started involving HR into finding it out whether they're contributing some part of the business or not. So there was an era when we were looking into a business impact. Honestly speaking, this era is still continuing it. Most of the organization have even not reached to this level. They are still working as a functional impact department. So most of the HR department in most of the organization are only making a functional impact. Some have migrated to make a business impact. But my dear friends, future is not for business impact alone. HR has been given the responsibility to make a social impact. You have to look at a demography in which you are operating. You have to look at the skill set which are available in the market, how you are engaging the workforce as well as the society which surrounds this workforce. Start looking at making a social impact. Even if you're currently making a functional impact, I think you have to start looking at 2 steps ahead. Look at it, anything from the angle of business and social. Let me give you a small example. Now, if you look at a talent landscape available in your industry or in the region where your manufacturing or offices are situated, there may be places where you wanted to have, let's say, X type of a skill set to do the job. But the society in which you are operating, there are not many such people available in the skill set. You can do 2 things. You can obviously get the person migrated with a hefty salary, make sure that this person comes and settles and start doing it. This is one approach, which most of us are doing this. Second is, this can be a short-term approach so that business should not suffer. But at the same time, we should get into looking at, can we do some fundamental change in the talent impact itself so that society can bring and produce more such skill sets. It can be engaging with the educational institutes, it can be engaging with the people around us, bringing up their skills. This is just one example we can do. So you can look at many such instances where whatever decisions you are taking, it can have a social impact. Another example which comes to my mind is, let's say about an environment. If you're looking at it from an environment, maybe do some program, stitch some reward program related to social impact which your employees are bringing. Connect them to the society, bring them some reward, engage in beyond CSR. See, CSR is unfortunately an activity which is a mandatory activity. But start looking CSR beyond mandatory activity. That is the reason when we are going to make a social impact for this. I'll not spend much time on this slide because I think over the discussion we have done, we have already covered most part of it, be it management of outcomes to facilitation of outcomes. One point I wanted to add is one particular thing as a skill set which we still need to develop is facilitation. Most of the time, either HR is doing or managing, but we are not facilitating that effectively. This is the skill of the future where facilitation will become a key for the success of any organization. How effectively and efficiently you are able to facilitate is going to decide about your contribution to the organization. I want you to look at this learning tool. Maybe that you can do it later and then you can share it with us. And of course you can share it on our email for that. This is one learning tool which you should do. Look at on the x-axis efforts which start from low to high and impact from a bottom to top from low to high. Pick up one activity which you can do again in your workplace, which is a low impact and high efforts. List it down. What will happen is if you are able to fill all the 4 boxes for yourself, at least with one activity, if you can do it more, great. But even if you do it, at least one activity in each bucket, you will be able to find out your priority items. You'll be surprised to know that there are certain things which you are doing are not making at all impact, and you can stop doing them. So do this exercise. If you wanted to share it with us, email it about this, and we can even help you in that. But this is very effective tool. I have personally seen that if you start plotting your contribution to the organization, it is the instant tool which can help you move to the next level. We'll spend 30 seconds just to make sure that you understand this tool. And for the group, let me repeat it. On x-axis, you will see an efforts, which moves from low efforts to a high efforts, from a left to right, and from bottom to top, it's an impact axis, which moves from low impact to high impact on the top of it. This, we have placed 4 boxes into this. So on your bottom right side is a low impact, high efforts. You have to look at it, which are the things you are doing it, which is low impact, but taking a lot of your efforts. Then you have to look at that top side of the right-hand side, high impact, high efforts. Perhaps these will be very critical things which you are doing. Stakes are high in this for the organization, and stakes are high for you as an individual also. Similarly, look at on the left-hand side top, high impact, low efforts item which you are doing, which are putting a lot of efforts, making a lot of impact to the organization, but the efforts required is little less. These are your golden spot, because if you can find that out, that you are making high impact with the minimal resources and commitment to it, these are some of the shining things you can do. Once you are able to do this exercise, I recommend, if you have a team down the line, give this to them also. This can become one of your guiding tools for finalizing your functional scorecard as well as the KRAs for you. Right? Okay. So later part of the presentation, we will cover about our program also. So when we say about, are we prepared for a future HR? This is a model which we as a team, we try to do it whenever we do the sessions on future of HR. So we all have heard about the VUCA, World HR Leadership. We have known that we are living in a digital world today. Talent, we have to source it from the world. So HR has to start looking talent from a different angle. Customer centricity is already there in us, but we have to now look it from a different level, because most of the customer centricity which HR is demonstrating today is unfortunately inside the organization. We look at organization as our only customer. We have to step out and see customer from the real customer who is paying us for buying our goods and services. And now another pillar in this is society, which we have to look at it. So these are the 6 pillars with which I and Sai, both of us, and Sai will be there in a short while here, which both of us conducts the program related to this, how we should migrate HR from current state to a future state of leadership. This is the different models. We have different exercise associated with us. We go on the concept as well as the scenario based, and then we have a lot of activities and case studies related to that. So I'll not spend much time, because that we will cover it in later part of it. As I said about it, people have to look at outside. I think this is another important thing which we as HR should focus. Long time we have spent in looking inside, outside. Again, nothing wrong in this. Look it inside, go outside and do the reconciliation. But the future lies for the organization where their HR can look it outside first and then find a gap what is there. Because when you go from inside to outside, you only seek solution for your problems. When you come from outside and look at your organization, you can see a perspective and a gap which exists in terms of where the world is and where we stand. So I strongly recommend, in fact, in one of the webinars, I was talking, and I have to make it a point because people were saying, no, I think it is same thing, that inside outside is the same thing as outside inside. And my answer to them is, it sounds same, but it is not same. It is similar, but it is not same. When you look from outside, your dynamics changes. Because when you look at Netflix, when you look Zappos, when you look at all these new age organizations, they are doing HR practices from a very different level. And one of the reasons why they're doing it different is their HR is spending less time in the organization and spending more time outside the organization. They are spending in meeting the customer. They are spending time in understanding the psyche of the vendors or the stakeholders of the organization. So my sincere request is look into this model. Again, this model also we bring it into our program which we do for all the HR leaders. Again, we cover that more in depth. We pick each topic from a different perspective and get more details about how it can be done and solve the problems related to it. My suggestion to you is pick this, at least start looking at from the activity point of view. Even if you right now cannot look at from overall point of view from the organization, at least start looking from the activity point of view. This, even if you do one or two to start with, your organization will see a very different person in you. Another learning tool, I know I'm giving you too many freebies as a learning tool, but on a serious note, these are some of the things which I think we can easily implement, and that is the reason I always say, whenever you are attending any program, if you have to implement that, pick one or two things which make sense to you, go and do it and implement it. If you see a result, it means that you are being in the right direction. So, first learning tool was more about impact and efforts. This is more about the state of HR. What do I mean by state of HR? I'm not saying your attire is traditional or you are a modern outlook guy. All I'm trying to say is that any of our practice in the organization can be easily classified into traditional, conservative, and modern. Honestly speaking, if whatever category you people are, the total blame is not on you alone. There are a lot of stakeholders involved, so you can do your bit to change it. But I think it is fair ask at least to see where we stand. And if we can convince the business, convince the leadership to make sure that as an organization, which we should move it. So my suggestion is only pick two things, recruitment and performance management. I think these are the two skills which are largely used in any organization. I don't see any organization which are not using recruitment and performance management. All organizations are using. So pick this. Again, try to bucket it, your recruitment practices into these three headings: traditional, conservative, modern. If you fall into traditional, look out on internet, search for the HR best practices in the market, how you can move the needle from a traditional to a modern side, how you can move it from a conservative to a modern side. If you're already modern, give a pat on your back, give compliment to your team, make sure that you still start looking more how you can still stay relevant in this particular zone. It will be a mix also. Your recruitment practices may be traditional. You have already reached to a balanced scorecard. You might are already doing OKR in your organization. My suggestion again to you is look at holistically, because it will bring a disbalance. If your recruitment hiring is not at that particular level, what your performance is, or vice versa, it is going to create more stress in the system than anything else. First thing, if you have to do it, at least bring both of them at par. And when I say bring at par, I'm not saying something which is already up, bring it down. Thing which is already down, try to take it up. At least both the things are there. After that, try to move the needle to the next level, shift the gear, take the organization into consensus, look at leadership, look at some case studies, and try to convince your management to move. With this, I'm almost on my last slide to conclude. Before we conclude, I'm a big fan of global publications, research organization. So you would have seen that I've used a lot of reference material from Harvard Business Review or Inc. for that matter. Not that there are no other reference materials available, but I think because they have done extensive research, it is an easy thing to look and implement in our day-to-day life. So if they are saying that there are 16 categories of leadership skills, by and large, when you go through it, you will realize that these are quite sufficient to be implemented in our day-to-day life or into our business life. So these are the skills. I'm sure most of you may be knowing about it, but it is always good to categorize into different headings. It can be character, personal capabilities, getting results, and leading change and interpersonal skills. Look at it, your skill level, pick the skills for your team also, and also implement it. Last I wanted to say is in HR, if one thing which you have to do is you have to make sure that your energy level should always be high. If you have an energy and inquisitiveness, I think half of the battle is won. Most of the time when we say that inquisitiveness doesn't mean that you only inquire, but you are not implementing it with a high energy, there we see there is a slippage which happens. So with this, I conclude. Look at this skill set, and I hope the session which we have done probably would have given you some more insight about HR. HR is changing, and we have to change the business along with HR. Thank you so much.
So thank you, Vineet, for bringing the session and making the session very, very simple, but still a session, very intense session. So before we move forward, let me also welcome Sai. Hi, Sai, good to see you. So as I shared that all this, just a second, I'll just share my screen. Yeah. So as I shared, the overall intention of these sessions is to create and ignite a thought process in you, and at least take one or two things back with you. And the key is in the implementation, which we need shared. So what we have done is as an extended support, we have gone ahead and developed an intense program. If you really wanted to take this in your organization, we've created a program. But before moving to the program, let me share about, I've already shared about Vineet, and some of you might have already attended Sai's session. And those who are coming for the first time, Sai comes with 21 years of rich experience from the business, handled various businesses at international level. At one point of time, he was managing almost 24 countries. Amazing amalgamation of, if I have to summarize, amazing amalgamation of strategy, people skills, and business skills. So that's all roll out into a one human being, and that's Sai with us. And the number of the kind of work he has done with various organizations to starting from crafting a strategy and taking to the next level is a rich strength which Sai comes with. So while designing the entire program of HR Masterclass, which will be an extended program, both Vineet and Sai will be facilitating the session. Sai, I request you to know a little bit, share about the program before we open up for the question answer sessions.
Totally, Vineet. Thank you for that very generous introduction. And Vineet, I was listening in a really awesome session. I'm sure that you're leaving everybody very enriched. So I hope all of you have been enjoying today's session because I was listening to you and I was looking at all the chats that were getting exchanged. So fantastic, what I'm listening and what I'm looking at. Viren, if you could just move to the program title slides. Yeah, thank you. So just to call out this very quickly, all of the programs that we bring to you under Skill India, or what we typically do at Challenging Horizons, they can be understood at multiple levels. What you saw today is what we call a preview session, and we keep doing these preview sessions for all of you to understand that's what's available out there and how can you get engaged with us. But a very crisp version of this is also available to you as a playbook. Typically, when you talk to us about playbooks, these will be a series of 6 to 10 webinars in which the entire program can be folded. Our approach always has been to build an execution-oriented playbook. Literally the name of the playbook itself gives it away that you attend the playbook, you literally go back and you start implementing it from the very hour that you experience it. So this entire program is available to you as a playbook also. And we will just show you what kind of sessions, etc. Thereafter, we also do immersions for organizations which are really serious in terms of wanting to take the whole concept forward. And the immersion programs can be anywhere between 3 full days to all the way to 5 or 10 days spread over a couple of months so that we can build capability also. And last but not least, the coaching. If you have a bunch of people who we need to get things going with, coaching always helps. All of these programs are rapid, virtual, and to give you a little bit more understanding of the modules themselves. If you come in for the playbook, and Viren, we are about to announce the date soon, right?
Yes.
Of the playbook, yes. So stay glued in onto our announcements. We will very soon make an announcement about the workshop. So some of you may opt in into running this program in-house in your organizations, and some of us are already in conversations with us. So we will carry that conversation forward. But those of you who also want to attend our public program on this, the program will be fundamentally about these 7 steps that you see in front of you. We will start talking to you about myths and fallacies that you should be aware of as a young HR leader, and thereafter jump into what we call the 5-star model of evolving global competition and scenario. In fact, Vineet and I can tell you how many number of interesting conversations we keep having around this whole 5-star model, because it then brings together a whole series of aspects, and everything and anything that some of you have been talking about, like VUCA world and the multi-generational workforce and all of that. And some of it Vineet already covered. Thereafter, the develop and manage workshops are going to be very interesting for you, where we bring out outside in, and you saw some of those models again. And finally, looking at what is the work and working relationship that you need to create. And we close this entire thing by the last 2 modules, which gives you an ability to drive results with work and also crafting an equity and credibility for the future. So that's largely what you get. So 7 modules in the playbook, and these can be looked at in various combinations. If you were to come in for a basic program, it will be 6 webinars, 2 hours each. The intensive module will be about 12 webinars, 3 days each, or you could do it in-house for 3 days. Immersion could be about 12-week webinars plus, 3-day session, or it could be a couple of coaching sessions along with that. So various combinations that we look at. So that's in a nutshell. Some of these models Vineet has already sort of explained to all of you. Viren, do you want me to get into these? Because I think Vineet called out some of these slides out there. So that's what I wanted to cover.
I think we will anyway share with the participants this.
Yeah.
So with that, we are all set for some of the questions. If you have any kind of questions related to today's sessions, please use your chat window, and all of us will be more than happy to answer any of the questions if you have. Yeah. Also, just meanwhile you're typing questions, there's a small request from my side, and share your reviews on this link about today's session, and also we'll be sharing you the recording of this session to all the people who are sharing some amount of some reviews for today's sessions. We'll send you the recording of today's session, so that in 90 minutes it really become difficult to consume everything and then go back and reflect. So the recordings will definitely help you to go back and reflect on a few of the thoughts which Vineet has shared. So we are all open for questions. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask in the chat window, and We'll be more than happy to answer. So there is a link on the above link. You can just, the same link you can click, and Sharad, you have asked reviews, where to give reviews. So this is the link where you can just click and share the reviews. Any questions? Or the session was too overwhelming? I think, Vineet, you have made people to in a deep thought zone.
So when you don't have questions, two things are there. One is that you have understood all or none. And I'm sure both statements will be too extreme. So we'll look forward to your questions and we're happy to answer.
Any particular challenge as an HR professional you are, facing or looking for an answer? Maybe that could be a good start to ask some of the questions.
They can also send you the questions also, Viren, later if I think if they have something.
Yes, yes. So just if someone is typing, I'll just pause for a minute before we formally end the session. So we have one question: how to minimize the legal hurdles to fine tune the day-to-day HR activities?
So Joseph has given this question. So Joseph, I think the 2-3 things needs to be done. Definitely, why these legal hurdles are there. One of the reason is perhaps there is a mismatch in terms of what we told in the beginning and what we put it in your offer letter or an appointment letter. So this is one, which is normally you will find that either it is not clear or it is told something else and people experience something else. So try to bring both the things together in one platform. Second is the practices has to be above the board. So whatever we are doing as an organization, we have to make sure that these should be as per the legal and compliance of the place in which we are operating. Every law of the land should be followed. Third is, of course, the legal hurdles also comes many times from, and especially I've seen it, legal hurdles happen at the time of employee leaving or employee not servicing the notice period, or there are some things when things are not amicably resolved into it. For this, try to make sure that you have a very clear and crisp expectations from an employee, and the reasoning should also be very clear to them. As much as possible, try to make sure that the communication from your side is clear. And you can only minimize it, but whenever it comes, make sure that you take an expert legal advice to address that queries. I think Vaishali has written mandatory that any employee engagement initiative we take, it has to be liked by all employees. Absolutely not. I read somewhere the quote, I think, if I'm not wrong, it was from Steve Jobs or something. If you wanted to make everyone happy, start selling ice creams.
Right.
I'm sure it was from Steve Jobs, but the quote.
Like, and I think a very relevant question Vaishali has asked. Most of the time, what happened, like you do good, and you good 10 to 10 people, and I think hardly one will respond, and you will do bad to one person, and he will tell to the 100 people. So that's where the mindset is. But I'm sure, as rightly mentioned by Vineet, that we can't make everybody happy by the end of the day. And I think in one slide where Vineet, you reflected that focus on the outcome I think if a more deep dive understanding is there on that outcome focus, I think majority of audience will be in the favor of any intervention which you want to drive.
Just to add, Viren, what we're saying is that when we talk about not satisfying all versus satisfying all, our intent should be that the larger good should be done to the organization, which is much more sustainable and which is much more covering the broader organization as a whole. So I think don't get disheartened when you see that you are doing something and it is not liked by all the people. Look at it from the organization overall impact which you are making. If the answer is yes, stay in the same course. If the answer is no, you also have to many times go back to your table and see that why is it that you are doing everything good and still people are not appreciating. So there can be a mismatch of an expectation there.
And
How do
also
we
it's,
get satisfaction across the group? Not an easy answer. I think we have to continue try with our best intent. Only thing which we should probably do is check what we mean by satisfaction, what it means to me, what it means to somebody else, and what it means to an organization. Find a common ground, look at the engagement initiatives, build around that, and then just that because I like a cricket and I do a cricket match for an engagement activity, not necessary that everyone will be satisfied with that engagement activity. Perhaps there is a different workforce, and now you are dealing with a multi-generational workforce, which has a very different expectation from life, from work, from manager. We have to bring balance in that. Very nice question, Isha.
So with that, I think we are dot on time, and thank you once again for everyone for joining. And I hope you got at least this session has triggered some thought process for you to take some actions. As we mentioned that every Tuesday and every Friday we bring you such deep conversations with our team of experts. Stay tuned. Look for our emails, and also we'll be sharing you the main program which will be starting as an HR masterclass, what Sai spoke about. And if you wish to conduct the session in-house, you can definitely reply on the same mail. And if you want to be part of a public program, we'll share you the dates and other details in the same mail. So with that, I formally end the session. Thank you so much, and do share your review in this link. Help us to reach out more and more people so we can create this kind of an awareness. And I think today digitally it has given us a power to connect anybody in the world if he's with an internet connection. So share your reviews, and we look forward all of you for our upcoming other sessions. So thank you, Vineet, and thank you, Sai, for joining it.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Stay connected.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Vineet. Thank you, Viren.
Thank you.
Take care.